Jamie, lining up for you first start, HINOKAMI KAGURA, 3-year-old by Deep Field. Have you seen his trials? He had 5 in total, a few placings for him.
Yeah, been happy with him. He arrived early and we were trying to get him to the PPG races at the back end of last season, but it was all just happening a bit quick for him. So we backed off him and had this race in mind for a little while and been pleased with the way that he's trialling up. So look, first up in an open race, go in there confident he's going to run well, but it's a little bit hard to assess how these young horses are going to perform when the pressure really comes on race day.
Looks like he does possess a little bit of gate speed, this guy.
He does. He's jumped and lit up his trial the other day. Just asked Karis to make him show his speed a little bit because they'll go fast. But he's a nice type of horse. He's by a good sire here in Hong Kong, and looking forward to him making his debut.
He's got the usual stable gear on, the crossover noseband and the tongue tie, but you did trial him the other week on the all-weather with the pacifiers on.
Yeah, that would be sort of normal practice for the stable, especially when there's a little bit of wet weather around. Young horse, he didn't end up getting any kickback, but we put the pacifiers just because he was trialling on the dirt. But yeah, crossover and tongue tie is pretty normal for us.
Derek encountered lining up for Manfred Mad in the Group 3 Celebration Cup. You've won on him 3 times now at the back end of last season. How brave was he considering the run he had and the prevailing weather conditions at that final meeting?
Yeah, well, he been improving a lot last couple run, and we're going along pretty well. And you know, now he's up on the rating 105 against with some good horse, quality horse. So he need to keep improving.
What about him as a horse? He looks like he's got a real sort of fighting, willing attitude to win this horse, doesn't he?
Yes, you know, he just keep fighting, and I'm happy what he did last season. He hope he more improving.
What about his trial on the all-weather the other week, where he covered ground and finished second? And how's he come on since that trial with his morning track work?
Yeah, we just give him an easy trial, but he still seems like his trial pretty good, and the fitness been improving after the trial.
Tactics in a small field undoubtedly will play their part. He's raced on the pace, near the pace, off the pace. What do you think sort of the best sort of thing needs to happen at the weekend for him to finish as close as he possibly can, if not win?
Well, we try to win on Sunday, and only small field, but we draw outside again. Try to be slot in somewhere around midfield, and depends on the pace because only 1 or 2 horses we try to lead. So it seems like gonna be slow, so don't want to be too far behind. I need to discuss with the trainer and the owner first, but try to be slot in somewhere around midfield, don't get too far behind.
Karis, a go hero, lining up for his seasonal debut. It was pretty unlucky and pretty rough over the final stages last start, but it looked like there was plenty of merit in the run, I thought.
Yeah, he ran a good race last time, first time up. Of course, he did not break well, he was a bit green, and into the straight, of course, he sort of got tight a bit for a bit of a room. And I think he's a progressing horse, and just looking forward to riding him again.
Talk us through that situation, because there was a lot of bumping between your horse and Matthew Chadwick's horse with that outside horse leaning all over you. Is that how much of a momentum killer can that be, and what do you have to be mindful of in those situations?
Yeah, well, you know, when there's a gap, and you know, we of course try to get as clear of a run we can in a straight, and you know, of course the horse on the outside I believe kept a really strong line, and you know, of course my horse being first up, a bit green and not toughen enough, was unable to sort of push his way out a bit, but that's how racing are, and you know, these things you deal with, but you know, I think the horse is a nice horse.
He finished 4th without maybe all that unbalancing. Could he finish a little bit closer to the win? Yeah,
I think he could have you know, he could have maybe finished a bit closer, but you know, like I said, he was very green, and you know, I think an experience also did count on the day.
Let's look forward to this weekend with him. He barrier trialled over 1,200 metres on the all-weather. To the untrained eye, was he just pushed out a little bit in that trial?
Yeah, he needed to do a bit of work. I believe when he go a bit further, he will be better. But it's a good start, of course. He's a very laid-back horse, so I just thought in a trial, if I left him alone, he was not going to do much. So I just wanted him to do a bit of work before going to races.
How do you feel he's come on since the trial? Because you did gallop him on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, he's come on good. He took the trial nicely, and I think, like I said, I think he's ready to go, and it will be a good race for him.
A couple of winners on Wednesday night, including Helene Feeling. How good was he?
Yeah, it was a tough win. From that draw, we had to work on the first turn. Went a bit fast, but he just, I think he's got a bright future as a young horse, and of course he's got bigger things to come in front of him.
Zach, green and white for Ricky. You were a strong winner at the back end of last season. How did you evaluate that final run of his?
I thought it was good. He'd shown in most of his runs that he had some ability, and it was just a matter of him, I think, stepping up in distance and having that little bit more experience. And he'd been slow out of the gates, but that day he began better and he put himself in a good position and he got the job done.
No doubt you've watched the trial up at Chungfa. Off face value from the naked eye, it looked pretty impressive, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it looked good. Those Chongfa trials, as we know, they're a little bit hard to follow, although some of the jockeys now are starting to go and ride up there in the trials. So I think as time goes on, it'll be a little bit easier to follow those. There's a little bit more speed in the trials now, which is more similar to what we have back here in Hong Kong. So I think those trials, like I said, will become a little bit more of a form base for us. But he seemed to trial well. He looks as if he's in good order. Ricky Yu started the season strongly, so I'm hoping he can perform well.
Just on some of those trials up at Chungfa, when you're back here in Hong Kong watching them, what do you look for? Because some of them, as you've touched on, can be hard to follow, glorified jump outs almost.
Yeah, it's hard to look for anything really. There are a lot of horses that trial well up there and race poorly, and then a lot of horses that seem to trial poorly and race well. So up until this point in time, they've been really hard to follow, but I think going forward, hopefully we can get a little bit more benefit out of them.
Danny, thank you for your time. Nordic Dragon in the final race at Sha Tin. How's he come back for this preparation?
He's very good. He's very healthy. His trial, very good. And the final gallop, Hill Bowman gave me a very positive report. Yes.
No worries about coming back to Sha Tin because he has been beaten here and all of his wins have been at Happy Valley. So no concerns with Sha Tin.
This is the only concern. So of course, I have some concern, but you have to try. Its rating is 93. I don't have much races in Happy Valley at this day. For another 2 months, I can't see any Class 2, Class 1 in Happy Valley. So I got no option. I have to put him to trial on the 13. Yeah.
He's a late season Northern Hemisphere 4-year-old. Do you think he's strengthened up and developed since last season?
I think he's getting better and better. I think he can improve. I don't know how much he is, but he's good and sound. Yeah.
What about when he got beaten a couple of times last season, 3 times? What was the key sort of thing you think to get him back to winning success? What do you put some of the key metrics down to being?
The key metric is Hill Bowman. He got good hands, and he can teach the horse relax and make him finish. Yeah. So even the last race, he won on the Happy Valley, Matthew, because that race is low pace at all. So I say we got not really reasonable draw. So just jump and go. But he can now. He's more mature. He can go. He can sit behind. Yeah.
Romantic Warrior, of course, down in Australia and Werribee. How's he settled in there, and what's the latest situation on the feed?
The feed, I always have a problem with the feed because animal, horses. He used to get used to his original feed. You change the other feed, even though he was similar, but he not exactly the same. So he still left a little bit, not a little bit. He left 2 pounds, 3 pounds feed. In the night time, and when we collect the feed in the morning, we can see that not really good, but fortunately, he get used to the Werribee, the Australian weather, the track. He's quite nice. Benzo, my AT, Gary, now my wet rider. Every morning we talk. They give me a good report, not fantastic report, but it's a good report, yes.
When do you look to head down to Melbourne, and when's he likely to have a gallop down in Werribee?
He will gallop on Werribee on the turf gallop tomorrow morning. Actually, James McDonald want to come. I said, let the boy do the gallop first. But I booked him. I will send both horses, Romantic, Warrior and Romantic Champ to Flemington on 6 o'clock. He will get it on 6:30. So James McDonald, we got him on the 1st of October. Yeah.